welcome back, guys. My name is Chinyama. Last time I was introducing to you to databases. I introduced the concept of databases, where it's being used, how the advantages that of databases, the types of databases that we have around. Today we'll dive a bit deeper, and I'll show it to you the SQL, which is the language that we use for creating databases, for manipulating databases, for retrieving information into from databases. We also look at RDBMS. An example that we look at in RDBMS is MySQL. And then I will go further and also introduce you how you can install MySQL on your computer as you begin this journey of databases. SQL, or Structured Query Language, is a standard language used for storing data, manipulating data, and retrieving data in databases. Some of the things that you can do with some of the things that you can do with SQL include executing queries against the databases, that is, retrieving information from the database. Another thing is to insert a record into a database and also update records in a database, as well as deleting records in the database. So last time there's a passage example ya library, and how a library is like a database and a book is like data. So SQL, it will give you tools that will enable you to put a book in a library, to remove a book from a library, to change a book with another book in a library, and also to control access to who can get a book and who cannot get a book, who can change a book, who cannot change a book. So remember, a book we're dealing it with is data. So SQL will give you all those commands that you'll be able to execute against a database. Now, SQL on its own, you cannot use it. You need another tool, and this is a system called the RDBMS. So we'll now begin the installation process from MySQL, which is a relational database management system that has got SQL. We'll be writing all our SQL queries, creating databases, and doing all those awesome stuffs. So on my browser, I just type MySQL. SQL. So brings the first page. Go on MySQL community. MySQL community. We go and download. Thanks, just download. We'll wait for it to finish downloading. My SQL has finished downloading. We'll now install it. So what I'll do is that I'll double click it like that. It's installing. So application requires Visual Studio. Please install Visual Studio and run again. So finish. Don't tell me it requires what? This application requires Visual Studio 2019. Why does it require Visual Studio? I don't install Visual Studio. Just go and run it now. We'll click it to start running. Start the installer. So continue. Yeah, so it's installing. We'll come back once it's done, or not, depending on how long it will take. Visual Studio. Installing Visual Studio. Visual Studio. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. Dun, 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 dun. It's about 11 GB. We'll come back once it's finished installing. Alright, so now that my SQL has, I mean, sorry, so now that Visual Studio has finished installing, which is a requirement for MySQL, we can now able to install MySQL. We do not need Visual Studio, so right now I can even close it. What we need is what we need for now is to so now what we need is to install MySQL. So there we go. So next, accept the terms. Next, just a typical install. Go. Okay, it's done. Say yes. Alright, so it has installed. Now check where it's located. We should have somewhere here we can code MySQL. MySQL server. We go in the B. MySQL is in here. So copy the link to the location of the project. So what we're trying to do is this. When I open my command prompt, like that, when I type my SQL, nothing. It's not being recognized. So we want it to be recognized, or when we enter it here on the command prompt, so that you can be able to use the commands. What do we do? We're going to add my SQL. We're going to add my SQL into the path environmental variables for our computer, so that we can be able to use my SQL in the command prompt. So I'm going to open environmental variables, like that. Let's give it a few minutes. Don't know why my PC has become so all of a sudden. What the hell? Oh yeah, this is the one. Environmental variables. Here we come here in our path, and then we're going to say new. No, not new. We'll click on path, and then we'll say edit. And the edit will say new, and then we add a new path, which was that one, and then we say okay. You can say okay here as well, then close. So open CMD again. We try the command once more. MySQL. should give us an error message or some kind. Mm, yeah, something like that. So if we say MySQL dash dash version, it should give us the version of MySQL that we're using. So we have successfully installed MySQL on our computer, and we can begin to use it. We will now log into into the database. So MySQL comes with the default username of root and the default password, which is empty. We log in like this: MySQL -u root -p, enter. Password, there's no password, just enter. The reason why my SQL is not connecting to the database is because I've not completed the installation. The installation file is still here. We did not complete it. We say next. It's going to run on this port. This is the default port for my SQL, and it uses TCP. I'm going to say next. So it's requiring us to put a password. Before there was no such. So put root as the password. Root as the password, and it is telling me it's weak. It's okay. It's for testing purposes, but don't use a weak password. Yeah. Say next, next, next. We don't want sample databases. Next. Then just say execute. Give it a few minutes. It may take a long time. Okay, we're done. Finish. So we'll go back here. We try to log in using the password root, and there we go. Was successfully logged into my SQL. If I want to get out of my SQL, we just say exit like that. So let me just clear the screen using the word clear. Oh, sorry, CLS like that. Start again. So my SQL dash user root dash p, enter. Password that I had set up was root. I'm in my SQL. So the first command that we try to run in my SQL is to see the databases that are there. So just say show data, press enter. And these are the databases that come by default with my SQL. So I hope you have learned something today. So just a recap on what we have done today. We have looked at yeah. So just a recap of what we've done so far. We've looked at SQL and also MySQL as being a preferred RDBMS or Relational Database Management System. I've also gone through in installing, showing you how you can install MySQL on your computer, and we've also seen that in order for us to install MySQL, we also needed to install Visual Studio, as it is a requirement for MySQL. So in order for us to install MySQL, we first had to install Visual Studio, and then later on we installed MySQL, and then after that we connected to MySQL using the commands that I've shown you, and we've also seen the databases that are there. Uh, we'll see we'll see what I'm now excited on what we'll do next. We'll be looking further now into diving deeper and learning more about MySQL and all the awesome features that we can do. Please like and subscribe if this is helpful to you guys. I want to teach as many people as possible. Ifuna abantu mzambe nawe wankalako ma developers baziweko code, baziweko kupanga ma database, baziweko kupanga chabe vama IT. This is the digital age or turimo tulofa ikabonse tule akuntanshi tule sambishe fifintu. Forever bafishwa tufa fika tulesambirishako aba bantu abashafishwa so that bene abafishwe balefi bomfya. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe, and follow for more. You can also share with the relatives, friends, and anyone. Thank you very much.